I want to talk to you about something that is generally dangerous. And I know that's a big word to throw around, but I've been around cars like my whole life. And the number one thing I see guys gets wrong, and I'm not talking like doing cosmetic things wrong or silly things wrong. I'm talking about something legitimately dangerous wrong. Their drum brakes. And most people have no idea, especially if things have not been if had not been taken care of. You know, if they've been sitting, the seals start degrading, adjusters have seized, driving habits that work perfect fine on a modern car, well, they don't really work on a classic, especially if you have a new car with disc on all four corners. There's a huge difference between the way they stop, especially if your classic car has four-wheel drums. Now, there's 5 mistakes, there's 5 fixes, and then a bonus. So let's get into it. All right, number 1, and this one scares me the most, it's the wheel cylinders. Every drum brake has them. Some cars actually have 2 of them. And one on each rear wheel. Hell, you could have one all the way around your 4 drum brakes. And it's a little small hydraulic cylinder. It looks a little like a barrel. And it pushes the brake shoes outwards when the pressure hits the middle. So when you press the brake pedal inside it pushes out against these rubber caps. Now, if the car has never had their brakes serviced or redone, and our Oldsmobile was like this, and that 300 was like this, those things are they can be 25, 50 years old. If they may have been replaced at one time, yeah, probably not. But here's the thing. When those cups start leaking, they leak internally, which means that the fluid doesn't go to the ground where you'd see it. It goes directly into your brake shoes. And once your shoes are contaminated with brake fluid, you've lost most of the braking on that wheel. And you would not know. Because the brake pedal would feel the same. And they feel okay just with a normal stop. But this is the bad part. In an emergency stop or going quickly downhill, or you're on the highway, that's when you find out. And by that time, well, it's just a slight bit too late. The visual check I want you to do right now is pull your drums, look at the shoes. And if there's any dark staining, any glaze spots, contamination, the first thing to rule out, pull the rubber dust boot back on your wheel cylinder. Any moisture seeping at all, replace it. It's a $16 part. And now number 2, adjustment. Drum brakes have to be adjusted. Now, all modern drum brakes, and I'm talking modern, I'm talking from the early or mid 60s, I guess. They have a self-adjuster on them. And what that does is that when there's too much slop in there, it just kind of, especially when you back up, because it releases the pressure on it, when you hit the brakes, it pushes out and it clicks a little thing, and that makes it so you have the right spacing from the shoe to the actual drum. Well, a lot of times those adjusters, because of just maintenance or sitting, whatever, they're seized. And when they're worn out and they're sloppy. Either way, they stop working. And when nobody adjusts the brakes manually after that. So what happens after that? Well, your brake shoes will start, they wear down. That's normal. But what's happening now, the gap between the shoe and the drum is just going to get bigger and bigger. And then your pedal travel is going to get a little farther and farther. Now, the problem is most guys go, well, that's just the way the drum brakes are. No, it isn't. That pedal should always feel nice and high and tight. If it isn't that way, you have an issue. On a properly adjusted set of drum brakes, the pedal should be firm, high, and responsive. You should feel it. If yours isn't, and a lot of the cars out there aren't, you need a brake adjustment. It's not very complicated, but it takes a little bit of practice. So you do a little of the initial by taking the drum off, and you turn the star wheel until you can get, it's a little tight to get the drum on. Then when you put the drum on, you turn the drum. Now the car's being neutral and both wheels up in the air, and you're listening for a slight drag. If it gets a little more than that, and you have to use a little brake spoon, and I'll show a picture of what a brake spoon is here, on the backside. And when you just have that slight amount of drag, when it goes, you're good. And that will absolutely make sure that your brakes are working properly. Number 3, and this one catches people off guard, oil contamination. Now, your classic car, and I don't care how good it is, probably leaks somewhere. It's just the nature of the beast. I'm not judging, they all do. Rear main seal, axle seals, they go bad over time. Axle seals especially. And I'll show you on my car. And here's what most guys don't put together. If your rear axle seal is leaking, the oil is going directly onto your drum, right onto the shoes. Oil contaminated shoes are almost as bad as fluid contaminated shoes. The friction coefficient drops off dramatically. And here's the dangerous part. In normal driving, your front brakes do most of the work. So the contamination sits back there and everything feels fine until you're in a panic stop situation when the rear brakes are supposed to help you keep the car straight. And if they're soaked in gear oil, well, they're not going to do anything for you. Yeah, and the ride gets fun. If your car is leaking at the rear axle, you see it on the inside of the wheel, on the drum face, fix the seal first. Then pull the drum and inspect it. 9 times out of 10, you're replacing the shoes too. Okay, here's where it gets serious. The next 2 are specific for classic cars, and a lot of guys, it happens in a way they don't expect. Heat fade, and this one is specifically the drums. Here's how it works. When you apply a drum brake, the brake gets hot. I mean, it's the friction of the material on the cast iron drum. As it heats up, it expands outward. The gap between the drum and the shoe increases. Actually, the drum actually does get a little bit bigger. So the harder you've been braking, the less effective your next application is. That's fade. And it compounds. The more you use them, the hotter it gets. And the worse they work. Now, disc brakes have this problem, but it's not as severe because most of them are vented and they have air coming through them to help cool them internally. And so they actually dissipate that heat a lot faster. And the problem is drums don't have air going through the drum itself to cool the pad, the shoes, like the pads get cooled on a disc. So the heat just sits in there, becomes a heat sink. Now think about this, where classic car guys drive, a cruise on, down a mountain road, a long downhill run from home to a show. Well, if you don't live in Florida, if you're riding your brakes for a sustained downhill drive, you're building up heat in those drums. And at some point, you got significantly reduced braking ability compared to when you started. The fix is driver awareness and braking technique. You can use engine braking, and that's probably a really good thing to do. If you have a stick, downshift. An automatic's a little harder because you just have to manually bring it down. But these are things you can do. Also do short stabs instead of sustained pedal pressure. Don't ride the brake. And make sure your brakes are in perfect condition going in, because brake fade on top of a bad adjustment, that's a very bad combination. And number 5, this one specifically guys who've already done some work on their brakes, the disc brake conversion trap. And I call it a trap because a lot of classic guys, especially very common on Mopars, because a lot of them had 4 drum, do a front disc conversion. And that's great because it's better stopping, especially if you had a single master and you went to a double. Awesome stuff. But you can actually make your car less safe in an emergency. And here's why. If you put high performance disc on the front and you leave the drums on the back, but you didn't do anything to adjust the brake bias, you're actually making that car very unstable in an emergency. So here's why. When you do a hard stop, the car does this. It actually will lean forward onto the front of the car. Your front brakes are doing like 70% of that work. Your front brakes are significantly more powerful than your rears. In a panic stop, the fronts can lock before the rears do any meaningful work. And that's when the back end gets nice and light. The car wants to basically swap ends. And on a stock drum setup, the bias is matched from the factory. But now that you've changed it, you have to account for that. If you've done a front disc conversion, make sure the proportioning valve is correct for that. Usually they give you an adjustable if you're going from, you know, a 4-drum to a disc drum, they give you an adjustable for the rear to add or take away. And you want to make sure that it's all set up before you start driving on highway speeds. Okay, those are 5 mistakes. Here's a 4-point framework of what I want you to actually do. Okay, 1, pull your drums this weekend. I don't care how good the brakes feel. If you haven't inspected them for like in a year, pull them and take a look. Check the shoes for contamination, check the wheel cylinders for seepage, check the drums for scoring. It's like an hour of your time. 2, if the car leaks oil anywhere near the rear axle, fix that seal and check those shoes to make sure everything's okay. 3, adjust those rear discs up. 3, adjust the rear brakes. You know, see if your self-adjuster works when you have the drum off, and if it does, get a brake spoon and adjust manually, you know, with the car in neutral, both wheels up in the air, until you have a slight rubbing and you're good. Now, 4, if you have done a disc brake conversion, make sure you actually have a proportioning valve and it's set up properly so that your car, all the wheels lock up at the same time, not one locking up before the other, because that gets dangerous. None of this is complicated and none of it's very expensive. And it's the type of stuff that a lot of guys have been doing just automatically. And if you're newer to the hobby, now you know. I finished filming it and then I realized I didn't give the bonus. And so I had to go back, and my bonus is that a lot of the things with the inside the brake system breaking down can be solved with .5. It's silicone. It can't be used on anti-lock brake cars, but this stuff doesn't absorb water. And especially for wheel cylinders. I've had wheel cylinders in my car that have been there almost 20 years, and they're perfectly fine. My brake system has no rust in it because of this. So I've talked about it before. So this is truly a bonus tip, and definitely tell your buddies about this. So let's finish up the video. Look, classic cars are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be driven. They're not museum pieces. They're not postage stamps. I'm not saying to put it in a garage and then never take it out. No, that's not. I'm saying make sure you drive on brakes that work for your safety and others around you. And if you got a buddy with a classic car, share this with them. This is the kind of thing that it's worth actually sharing with someone so they can actually think about making sure their car is safe. And also, I want to know what you're going to be doing first on your brake system to make sure that it's working correctly. So put that in the comments below. I generally really want to know. And like I keep on saying, if you have a classic car or something fun, take it out, because you'll make someone's day and it will probably be your own. And I'll catch you in the next one.